Chosen one, notice something right now, not something outside of you, something in you. There is a part of you that has quietly stopped expecting, not dramatically, not with a crisis of faith, but slowly, the way a fire goes low when it has not been fed. You still believe. But somewhere along this long season, believing started taking more effort than it used to. Hope became something you had to work at, rather than something that simply lived in you. That shift has a name, and it is not a spiritual problem. It is a frequency problem. When the waiting runs long, something specific happens in the brain. The neural pathways that register signs of alignment, that notice when things are moving toward you, that feel the quiet certainty of convergence, they go quiet. Not because the movement stopped, because you can no longer hear it. The convergence is still happening. The pieces are still assembling. Right now, in ways your exhausted mind cannot fully register, something enormous is clicking into place. You did not arrive at this message by accident. What I am going to walk you through today is not general encouragement. It is a map, a set of very specific signs that will tell you clearly that what you have been waiting for is not coming. It is already here. Let's begin. Before we go further, I want to tell you something important. If you stay with this message until the very end, you are going to walk away with 3 things that most people never receive. First, a clear way to identify the signs of convergence already active in your life right now. Second, an understanding of exactly why you have not been able to see those signs, and what is happening in your brain and in your spirit that is about to change that. And third, a very specific declaration that, when you speak it over yourself today, will mark the beginning of the next chapter of your life. So stay. What is ahead in this message is worth every minute. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a car, following directions, and the route suddenly changes? The GPS recalculates. For a moment, the screen looks confusing. Roads that were highlighted are now gone. A new path is drawing itself in real time, and you are not quite sure where it is taking you yet. That is what has been happening in your life. You have not been lost, you have been rerouted. And there is a difference, even though from the inside, the feeling can seem identical. The route you were on, the one you planned, the one you prayed for, the one you could see clearly, it changed. And instead of a new route drawing itself instantly, there has been silence. A blank screen, a moment that stretched into months, maybe years, where nothing seemed to be calculating at all. But here is what the GPS does not tell you while it recalculates. It is working harder in that moment of silence than it does at any other time. Every possibility is being processed. Every road is being evaluated. And when the new route appears, it will be better than the original one, because it accounts for everything that has happened since you last had direction. Your life is in that recalculation right now, and there are signs of it. Specific, recognizable signs that the calculation is almost complete and the new route is about to appear. I want to walk through them with you one by one. The first sign is this. People who were not right for where you are going have been quietly leaving, not always dramatically, not always with an argument or a clear ending, sometimes just distance, a friendship that faded, a connection that cooled without explanation. And instead of feeling like loss, there is something almost like relief underneath it, as if a weight you had been carrying without knowing it has been slowly lifted. That is not a coincidence. That is a clearing. The second sign is that things you used to want no longer pull you the way they did. Opportunities that would have excited you 2 years ago now feel flat. Goals that felt urgent no longer feel necessary. Something in you has changed in appetite, and you did not choose it consciously. Your spirit outgrew a version of your life, and now nothing from that version fits the same way. That is not loss of motivation, that is alignment. The third sign is a restlessness you cannot quite explain, a sense of leaning forward, even when nothing specific is in front of you. You are not anxious. Exactly. It is more like your body is preparing for something it knows is coming, even if your mind has not caught up yet. That feeling, that inner restlessness that has no clear object, that is your spirit arriving at the threshold before the rest of you does. The fourth sign is new connections appearing in unexpected places. A conversation you did not plan. Someone in your path that you would not have encountered a year ago. A relationship that feels different from the others, more aligned, more purposeful, easier, in a way that still feels significant. These are not random encounters. They are coordinates on the new route. The fifth sign is that your thoughts about the future have become more specific, not wishful, specific. You are not just hoping things will be better. You are beginning to see what better actually looks like, with detail, with clarity, in ways that feel less like imagination and more like memory of something that has not happened yet. The sixth sign is that what you prayed for is beginning to appear in forms you did not expect. The door that opens is not the one you were watching. The provision that arrives comes from a direction you did not anticipate. This is not the universe being careless with your prayers. This is the route being better than the one you planned. And the seventh sign. Some days, in the middle of everything still being uncertain, you feel a quiet, a stillness underneath the noise. Not because your circumstances have changed, but because something in you knows. It does not have a word yet, but it knows. These are not coincidences, chosen one. These are coordinates. Now I want to tell you something about all of those signs, because seeing them is not enough. You need to understand why they are appearing now, in this specific season, and what has been happening beneath the surface of your life to make this moment possible. There was a man who spent years in a pit, not a metaphorical pit, a real one, thrown in by the people who were supposed to love him most. And from the outside, that moment looked like the end of a story. It looked like failure. It looked like a dream that could not survive contact with reality. But underground, something was being formed. Joseph did not know, in that pit, that he was not being destroyed. He was being made. Every month in the prison, every year in the silence, every moment of unfair delay, each one was a layer of wisdom, of resilience, of character that no classroom could have taught him. The palace would eventually need someone that process could build. And the process knew exactly how long it needed. You have been in some version of that pit, chosen one. And here is what I need you to understand about your season. The waiting was not wasted time. The wilderness was not a punishment, it was an assignment. And it served 3 specific purposes in your life that could not have been accomplished any other way. The first purpose was to give you skills you could not have received anywhere else. Not talent, skill. The kind of wisdom that only comes from navigating something hard without a map. The kind of discernment that only develops when you have been wrong about people and had to rebuild your ability to trust your own instincts. That is not a small thing. That is a rare thing, and you have it now. The second purpose was to strip away what was not yours to carry. The need for approval that you borrowed from someone else's fear. The identity built on performance rather than being. The version of yourself that required external validation to feel real. The wilderness starved those patterns until they could no longer survive. And what is left of you now, after the stripping, is more genuinely you than anything that came before. The third purpose was to clear the relationships that were not assigned to your next chapter. Some people left your life not because they were bad, and not because you failed them. They left because where you are going, they were not meant to come. The clearing that felt like abandonment was actually preparation. The people who are being assigned to your next season cannot enter until the space is ready. Think about a seed. A seed looks like nothing is happening for a very long time. Underground, in the dark, surrounded by pressure and weight, nothing is visible. No growth you can see, no progress you can measure. But the root system is going down, deep, before any height becomes possible. The depth you were forced to develop in this season is what will allow you to sustain what is coming. Shallow roots cannot hold tall trees. You have been growing roots. I am not telling you the wait is over because I can see your future. I am telling you this because of a pattern. Ancient, repeated, verifiable, across every wisdom tradition and every honest biography of transformation. The seasons that look most like delay are almost always the final preparation before the door opens. And here is what makes your situation specific. Right now, there is something happening in you at a frequency level that you may not realize. And this is where things get interesting. Here is a question I want you to sit with. Why do some people walk through the exact same circumstances as others and still manage to see signs of alignment, sense which direction to move, feel the quiet certainty of things coming together, while others, equally sincere, equally faithful, feel completely blind to all of it? The answer is not a difference in faith, it is a difference in frequency. Scientists call it gamma. The ancients called it discernment. The effect is the same. It is the brain's capacity to perceive what is invisible to the untrained eye, to notice patterns before they fully form, to feel the convergence before you can see it. And here is what most people do not know. Gamma is not something you either have or you do not. It is something you were born with in full force. Neuroscientists have observed it clearly in children. The rapid learning, the extraordinary creativity, the way children trust their instincts without second-guessing, the way they enter a state of total absorption and flow as if they were designed for it, because they were. That is, gamma operating at full capacity. But something happens as we grow. Scientists call it the decline effect. By the time most people reach adulthood, years of stress, conformity, comparison, and the relentless noise of modern life have suppressed gamma to a fraction of what it once was. And by the time a chosen one arrives in their most significant season, the very season that requires the clearest perception and the sharpest discernment, their gamma is often at its lowest point. This is not spiritual dryness, this is neurological. And it is reversible. For years, the only way to restore gamma was through biofeedback therapy at around $300 per session, or through specialized home equipment costing upward of $7,000. For most people, that was simply not accessible. But Dr. Robert Lake, a neuroscientist with 34 years of research experience, spent the later part of his career on a single question. What if this technology could be made available to the people who need it most? What he developed, after years of research drawing on studies from MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, and Columbia University, is a 7-minute audio track that uses precise brain entrainment technology to reactivate gamma. Not over months of meditation, not through expensive equipment. 7 minutes, a pair of headphones, and eyes closed. You do not need to clear your schedule. You do not need to wake up at 4 in the morning. You sit, you listen, and the technology does the work that your brain's own natural state was always designed to do. Over 18,000 people have used this. And the pattern of what they report is consistent. Clarity returning where there was fog. Synchronicities becoming visible where they had been invisible. A sense of alignment that they describe not as something new, but as something remembered. This is not a miracle product. I want to be honest with you about that. It is a tool, one that helps restore the neurological conditions in which discernment, alignment, and clarity naturally operate. It does not manufacture your breakthrough. It restores your ability to perceive the breakthrough that is already underway. The standard price is $49. But Dr. Lake made a decision early in this work. He wanted the technology to reach the people who were in the middle of their most important seasons, not just the people who could easily afford it. For those who encounter this message, the price has been set at $39. That price does not exist on Amazon, on any streaming platform, or anywhere else. It is only available through the link I have placed in the description and the pinned comment of this message. When you purchase through that link, you also receive 4 additional resources at no cost. A second audio track designed specifically for children, the original book that inspired The Secret, available on Amazon for $20, included here for free. A guided visualization across 4 areas of life, and a printable infographic of the 5 most important practices for building toward your ideal future. The full package comes with a 100% money-back guarantee, with no limit on how many times you use it before requesting a refund. I do need to say one thing clearly. There are imitation products that carry the name of this technology. They are not the same. The brain entrainment signal must be precisely embedded into the audio for it to have any neurological effect. A generic audio file with ambient music does not do this. The link I have provided is the only source I can personally verify. Please do not search for this on Amazon, Spotify, or any other platform. The only version with the full technology, the bonuses, and the guarantee is through the link in the description and the pinned comment below. With or without any external tool, what matters most is this. You now understand that what you have been calling spiritual blindness has a neurological dimension, and that dimension is not permanent. It is not a verdict on your faith. It is a condition of your season, and it is already beginning to shift. But even if your frequency were fully restored right now, there is one more thing I want to show you. One more layer underneath everything we have covered so far, because there is a reframe that I believe is going to change the way you see your entire story, not just where you are going, but everything you have already been through, and that is where we are going next. Here is the thing that changes everything, and I need you to hear this clearly, because it is the peace that most people in a long waiting season never receive, and without it, even when the breakthrough arrives, they carry a wound underneath the joy. A quiet story that says, I was behind, I almost did not make it, I barely survived my own delay. I want to remove that story from you today, completely, because here is the truth. You were never behind, not for a single day. You have been comparing your timeline to people who were not designed to carry what you were designed to carry. And that comparison has been costing you something you cannot afford to lose in this season, which is the ability to recognize where you actually are. Think about this. A cargo ship and a speedboat do not share a timeline, not because the cargo ship is slower or less capable, but because it is carrying something that cannot be thrown onto a faster vessel, something that requires a different kind of journey, a deeper draft, a steadier course, more time to load, and more care to deliver. The speedboat can be quick, but it cannot carry what the cargo ship carries. You are the cargo ship, chosen one. And the port, your people, your assignment, your season, is only now becoming ready to receive what you are bringing. This was not a delay. This was a design. Now, before I go any further, I want to name something honestly, because I think it will land differently now than it would have at the beginning of this message. There are 2 things that could still stand between you and the breakthrough that is already moving toward you. Not external obstacles, internal ones, and both of them are more subtle than you might expect. The first one is the grip. There was a version of this breakthrough that could have arrived earlier in your life. But if it had come then, you would have tried to manage it, you would have shaped it, and squeezed it into the life you already had, rather than letting it reshape the life you were being prepared for. You would have held it so tightly that the very thing you received would have become smaller in your hands than it was designed to be. Something has changed in you. The need to control the outcome, the need to know exactly how it will look and when it will arrive and through which door, you can feel it loosening. That loosening is not weakness, it is not passive. It is one of the most powerful spiritual developments that can happen in a person. It is the signal that you are finally ready to receive something at full size. Let your hands be open right now, wherever you are. Not physically, mentally. Feel what it is like to hold your future loosely. Not without care, with trust. There is a difference, and your spirit knows the difference even if your mind is still learning it. The second thing is more subtle. It is the doubt that arrives with the good. Some chosen ones, when the breakthrough finally comes, immediately begin looking for the catch, for what it is going to cost them, for why this good thing probably will not last. They cannot fully receive what has arrived, because their nervous system has been calibrated by so much waiting and disappointment that it has learned to protect itself by expecting the reversal. I want you to hear this. The voice that says, "This is too good to be true," is not wisdom, it is a wound. It is the voice of someone who has been disappointed enough times that their protection system activates the moment things begin to feel real. That voice is not a signal to retreat. It is a signal that you are finally close enough for the fear to get loud. When it speaks, do not argue with it. Do not try to silence it through willpower. Simply notice it and then make a decision that is larger than it. Choose to receive anyway. Choose to let the good be good. That choice, made in the moment when the old fear rises, is one of the most courageous things a chosen one can do. Now, I want to tell you about a woman named Ruth. Ruth's breakthrough did not look like a rescue. It did not come with announcement or fanfare or a sign that was impossible to miss. It looked like a field, a foreign woman, walking behind harvesters in land that was not her homeland, doing the humblest possible work, gleaning what was left behind. No one watching her in that field would have said, "This is the moment her life is turning." But she was faithful to the ordinary thing directly in front of her. She did not demand a more spectacular assignment. She did not wait for conditions that were worthy of her gifts. She showed up completely to what was there, and the convergence came. Through a person she had not expected, in a form she could not have planned, on a timeline that made no conventional sense. Your convergence may not look the way you have been picturing it. It may arrive through a door you have not been watching. Stay present, chosen one. Be awake to the ordinary moments, the conversation you almost skipped, the nudge you almost ignored, the small step that your spirit says is the right one, even though your mind cannot yet see where it leads. The most significant turning points in a life often do not feel like turning points while you are inside them. Now, I want to say something that I need you to receive completely, without dismissing it before it can land. You were never behind. You were never forgotten. You were never delayed. You were being assembled. Every loss, every door that did not open, every relationship that ended before you were ready for it to end, every year that felt like it was being taken from you, every version of yourself that you had to grieve. All of it was a component, and the assembly is now complete. Let that land. You are not arriving late to your life. You are arriving exactly when the arrival was designed to happen, fully formed, deeply rooted, carrying something that the earlier version of you did not have the depth to hold. This is your season. Now, I want to do something before we close. I want to speak over you, chosen one, about who you actually are in this moment. Not who you have been told you are. Not who you feared you might be after all this time. Who you are. You are a seer. You have always perceived what others could not. The long season was not muting this gift. It was sharpening it. There is a precision to what you sense now, an accuracy that comes only from years of learning to listen in the silence. What you see in this new season will not just guide you, it will guide everyone who is connected to you. You are a cycle breaker. What ends with you, in your lineage, in your relational patterns, in the inherited stories that were handed to you without your permission, was not accidental. You were specifically chosen for this assignment. The patterns that came before you required someone with your particular kind of courage and resilience to dissolve them. Things that were inherited stop here. In you. You are a light bearer. You have carried illumination into some of the darkest rooms you have been in, and most of the time you did not even realize you were doing it. People around you have felt the difference. They may not have been able to name it, but you changed something in every space you entered, not by performing, but by being. That is your nature. It does not require effort, It requires only presence. You are a spiritual warrior. The long season has not broken you. I need you to hear how significant that is. There are people who were given far less pressure who did not survive it. The fact that you are still standing, still believing, still here, still willing to receive this message and let it reach you, is not ordinary. That is the mark. That is the warrior holding ground when everything around them says to collapse. And you are a bridge. You exist at the threshold between what was and what is coming, between the old story and the new one, between the people who cannot yet see what you see and the reality that is on its way. That is why you have often felt between worlds, not fully belonging to the one behind you and not yet settled into the one ahead. You were made for that threshold space. You are the connection point. And everything that comes through you will reach people it could not have reached any other way. This is who you are. Now, I want to give you something to carry from this moment forward. Not a long practice. Not something that requires a different setting or a different day. Something you can do right now, wherever you are, in whatever you are doing. 3 statements. Speak them quietly, or only in your mind if that is where you are right now. The first is this: I am assembled, not delayed. Let that replace the story of being behind. The second is this: I receive what is already moving toward me, not someday, now, as an act of opening, not wishful thinking. And the third: I am what I was always being prepared to become, not what I will be eventually. What I am, right now, already. These are not affirmations you say to convince yourself of something uncertain. They are recalibrations. They are tuning your receiver back to the frequency of what is already true. And every time you say them, you are not performing faith. You are practicing perception. Now, chosen one, we are at the end of this message. And I want to close in a way that is different from just telling you to have a good day. I want to speak something over you. Wherever you are right now, let your shoulders settle. Let whatever tension has been living in your body have permission to soften, just for this moment. You do not have to fix anything right now. You do not have to figure out the next step. You do not have to know how it is all going to work. Just receive. You came into this season carrying things that were not yours to carry, stories about being too late, being too broken, being overlooked by the very force that was supposed to be guiding you. And I want to name those stories and release them here. The story that says you missed your window. Let it go. The story that says your best years were spent in the waiting. Let it go. The story that says the people who moved faster than you are proof that you did something wrong. Let it go. None of those stories are true. None of them belong to you. And none of them have the authority to define what comes next. What comes next belongs to the chosen one who showed up faithfully in the wilderness, who kept caring when caring felt pointless, who kept their heart open when closing it would have been so much easier, who, even in the middle of the longest season of their life, found their way to this message. And let it speak to what was real. That is you. And here is what I want to declare over you as you leave this moment. You are not waiting anymore. The formation is complete. The clearing is done. The frequency is returning. The signs are already around you, and now you have the eyes to see them. What was promised to you is not in the distance. It is in motion. It is recalculating. And the route, when it appears fully, will not look like what you planned. It will look like something better. You are the cargo ship arriving at the port that has finally been made ready. You are the seed that has been underground long enough that the root system can now hold a tree that will outlast you. You are the field that Ruth walked into, faithful, present, and about to receive something that no one watching would have predicted. The chosen one who is faithful in the wilderness becomes the one who is trusted in the palace. You are not waiting anymore. You are arriving. Go well, chosen one.